Alright, welcome back everybody. Let me just set this last few things up.
Circle, I wanna circle it.
Man, found the perfect answer.
Alright, I am back. Let me just boot up the music. Right. So, let's get started with today's programming. And I had promised Java tutorial very long back. My peers, many people have been requesting me to create a Java tutorial. So here I am, back with another video, and today we will be doing Java. Now I have already started off with a little example here. This kind of sets what we will be learning today. But before we start off with this, I would actually like to teach a few other things. So let's not get to this already. So before I get to this, we will be learning about strings in Java. Now strings are a very important part of Java. So let's say we will create a string, right? Now string is the only non-primitive data type that is there in Java, right? It's again, we have scanner, which is also a non-primitive data type, but that is actually a class. We can create more non-primitive data types, but string is one of the most known non-primitive data types, and it is probably, till as far as I know, string is the only data type that is non-primitive, and it does not require the new keyword. So we can just create any string just like so. String greeting equals, and then we put the name of our string. We don't have to use the new keywords, or else we would have to go string greetings equals new string. No, we don't have to do all that. We just do like this, and then we will write hello, right? Yeah, that seems good. So I should go for, yeah, hello. So this is string, right? Now I will show you a few methods that you can use with string. So firstly, we can do this. Well, let's say we have an int len is equal to greeting dot length, right? Now what does this exactly do? Now this will basically see that we have our string named greeting, and it'll check the length of greeting. Again, we have did this already in Python. It's a little different, but it's nonetheless the same thing. So as we can see, we will have a string which goes HELLO, with H being at the 0th indexed, right? And then E is at the first index. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Now we can see there are 5 letters, but for computer there will be 4 indexes. That is because we start from 0, right? Now if I do int len is equal to greeting.length, right? And then we do system.out.println len, right? Then it will show us a value of 4. So let me just quickly run this. You can see we get 5. Okay, that's odd. Does Java have it different than Python? It seems so. Well, it seems so that Java has it a bit different than other programming languages, because in other programming languages like C, C++, Python, I have seen that it's always 0 to any number. It's always 0 to n. It is never zero. Is never starting from 1, but it seems like for Java strings it starts from 1. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright. Although you could always do that if you like do -1, right? So for example, if I just happen to like go -1 and then also put it in abs, right? Something like that. If I just do -1, that would give us the true value, which is starting from 0. So if it was just h would be at the 0 index, because we do 1 minus 1 is 0, right? So that's one way you could get a similar output using Python. Okay. Now what if I want to loop the value? Let me show you how to loop through each character of string. Now in the last tutorial of Java, we have learned how to loop through different things, right? We have learned about for looping. Today we will be applying for looping while we are looping through strings. So if I do for int I is equal to 1, and then I is less than or equal to len I plus plus. I seem to have created extra. Yeah. Right. Getting back ahead. Now, as we can see, int I equals 1, I is less than len I plus plus. Now we want to see each and every index of greeting and print it out separately. So if I want to print out each letter separately, we will have to do it something like this. Char ch. Yeah, let's go for ch, right? Or let's just go for c. Char c is equal to greeting dot char at I. Now instead of doing less than or equal to, we'll only do less than, right? I will explain why, and we will start from 0, right? I will explain why I'm doing this. Right, I forgot to get the output. System.out.println C. Right, let's try this once more. Is this visible on screen perfectly? Yes, it is. Alright. As you can see, we get HELLO in different indexes. Now you would ask me, Temmie, why did you set this to 0 and make this less than len? Now this is because len, as I said, starts at the 0 index. It's always the same for Java, but in some instances it would look a bit different. Now this depends on how you're using it. Java would modify it in that certain manner. Right? Now in our case, we don't need that. So we start at the 0 index and we'll always keep it less than len, because len is 5, right? And if we go to 5th, len is up to 5, right? And we want to only take till 4, because len is checking the length of it. So length always starts from 1 to 5, but the indexes start from 0 to 4. That is because this is the string, right? Consider string more of as a array of characters. I'll get to what arrays work like a little later, but for now, if you look at strings, it's just a set of characters like these chars put together. Just that thing. That is why the bit rate, the bits of string depend. So it's always 16 bits per character, and one single character would be 16 bits total. Right? That's how it works. So when I do less than len, which means less than 5, that goes up to 4, which is the O. And if I do starting from 0, then that is H. That makes sense, because when we're doing sc.char80, sc.next.char80, when we're taking input using scanner class, that time we always take 0, because we're always checking the 0 index of a string, right? So that is why we're doing this instead of using this instead, right? It makes a lot of sense when you put it together. Yeah, it's visible, right? So that was it for looping through a string. If you can see the output over here, wait, I cut it out, right? So I'll just show you the output once more, and I'll explain it line by line. Right, okay, the output is visible. Now you can see, it starts 0. 0, it takes H, prints it out, takes E, prints it out, takes L, prints it out, takes L again, prints it out, and then takes O, and prints it out. And it uses the char_at function to go through each of these single letters, using the I, right? And that I will always increase using I++. Simple, isn't it? So Java is quite a simple language to understand. Implications, well, that could differ. Right. Now there's another thing. We have .locate. Now for example, if I were to do hello, this is my string, right? And I do int len is equal to greeting.locate, and then in here I can put an input, right? Not exactly an input, right? Oh wait, no, wait. Index of locate was in another language. So yeah, if we use greeting.index of, right? So it will, and I go, let's say my. So we have hello, this is my string. So it'll keep going through this until it finds the letter M, and then it finds Y, right? Like this, in this arrangement. And it'll find the first instance where it begins. So it begins at this index. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Remember, this is also an index. 10, 11, 12. Should be around 13, I'm sure. I might have got my counting wrong there, but it is what it is. So I will also print this out. I forgot to write system.out.println len. Right, let me just compile this. Now if I run this, you will see we get something like 14. Yeah, as I said, it should be around 13, so that's 14. So it finds the first instance of where this exists, and it'll give you that first instance, like so. Right? So that was yeah, that was basically finding locations of certain characters in a string. Right?
I love Inbox Elements because it has everything I need in one place.
Okay,
It
now I'll
has
teach you
videos,
something which
it
is
has
very
music, it has
useful
sound effects, it
in
has
Java,
graphic templates and
which
video
is
templates, everything I need to complete my video project on time. Try Inbox Elements now and get
concatenation. It's
unlimited
hard to
downloads
spell.
of millions
Okay?
of creative assets. All covered by a
Concatenation is
lifetime
where you
learning
basically
license.
join two
Create
strings.
better
Now, to
videos
join two strings,
faster.
there is two methods, right? Let's say we have greeting. What is the opposite of greeting? Leave, let's say, right? Hello, and let's do, let's go name, right? Hello, Temmie, right? Now, what if I want to join these two strings? String joined. Uh, uh, uh. Okay, I'll just cut that out. Right. Hello, I'm a big fan. Give me attention. I want shout out. Very helpful. Uh, hello, and I plays 2007. There's your shout out. Right. Bro. All right. Thanks for the like, by the way. It seems like some people who are watching live will not get smooth streaming apparently because YouTube is facing issues. Not my issues, YouTube's issues. Alright. So if I have, let's say, string joined is equal to uh, greeting plus name, right? Now this will basically join hello, right? Hello space, and then add Temmie to it. And so now if I system out println our joined string, right? If I print it out, then it should give us a joined version of our string, like this, hello Temmie. That was one way to do it. There is another way to do it, right? Which is like so. We do greeting dot concat, right? And then we can do name, right? And then if I do this, same thing, hello Temmie. Although if you inverse it, it will work a little different. If I do name.concat greeting, that'd be Temmie hello, right? So, okay, so that was that. Uh, what language? Okay. Well, it seems like there was a few viewers in here, like 3. Chat rate 0. Okay. Alright. Continuing. Let's not get distracted, right? Uh, Here's one thing about concatenation. Now, sometimes you would be like, okay, let's add up two things. Then you'd be like, what if I want to add up, like, let's say 10 and then 20, right? I'll show you something between numbers and strings that is kind of, well, bizarre, right? Now, if I set this to int, right? Oh, wait, no. I think I did it the other way round. Uh, right. Let me just quickly joined. Right. Uh, so if I were just to have, let's say this was an int and this was a string name, right? Now if I have it like this, where we have greeting, which is an integer, and then we have a string name, what do you think this will come out as? Would it come out as 30, or would it come out as 10 and 20 as individual numbers? Right, I'll give some time to think about it. So I will print the output, and that will answer your question. I have not seen the output yet, so I am guessing it will be 10 and 20 individual numbers. Right? Now that is just a thing between, as you can see, yeah. There we go, it's outputted. As you can see, we have 10 and 22 individual numbers printed out together. This is because this is a string, not an integer, and an integer would work different, a string would work different. This is concatenation. Hard to spell. Right. So that was concatenation. A special thing about it, right? I think I had shown escape sequences in the last tutorial, if I'm correct. Right. So let's not do escape sequences, right? Now I want to get to arrays, because arrays is a very, very important part, which is also related to strings. So if you haven't cleared strings, you will not be able to do arrays at all, right? So let me begin with arrays. So if I say I have a string, right? Let's say numbers, and then numbers is equal to 20, and I put it in brackets because yes. Wait. Right. Wait, now to put in brackets later. What happened? Where is my cursor gone? There we go, it's back. Right. Now this is just 20. What if I want to store more than just one value in this? That's where I have to put these brackets. Now if I do like this, I can create something like this, which turns it into something called an array. Now an array is a bunch of strings or a bunch of values put together, right? So I can also do this. That would still be an array, if I'm correct. Wait, what happened? Alright, just a minute. Right? As I was saying, now an array can be of anything. Now this is a string array. This will only take strings. What if I want to take it like this? Then instead of doing string numbers, I will do int numbers. And then it can store it very perfectly. As you can see, there was an error back there, but now there is no more errors. I can store as many of these as I want, separated by a comma. A comma separates all of these values in the array. So every time you're putting values, do not put full stops, put commas. A professional would put commas and an idiot would put full stops. What if I want to add to this string? What if I just have to this array? What if I have created this array and now I want to add more things to my array? What if I want it to be larger, more expandable? So let's say I have an empty array, right? Just like this. Now I want to create a for loop, right? I'll also show you array looping as well. And I'll just system out print ln numbers. Now I'll just create a simple 10 or like let's say 0 in this. Now this will be the 0th index. Even if I put 10, that will also be the 0 index of the array. Again, Java always starts counting from 0, right? Now if I do for int I is equal to 1, right? And then I do I is less than equal to 10, I plus plus. And then I do numbers I is equal to I. What have I done here? And if you have done Python with me in my previous tutorials, if you have seen me do Python, doesn't this look familiar by any chance? By any chance, does this look similar to you Python users? That's right, because this is also a way to do it in Python. Although Python is way more larger and it has more extensive methods to do it, Java also uses something similar, right? So now I take this index, I index, in my numbers array, and to this, on this index, I will add a value, which will be I. I can also do it like 1. I can add infinite number of 1 like this, right? Like this. But instead of doing that, I just decided to go for something like this. So that does it for me in shorter time. I can even set this to 100, so instead of typing 100 times and counting 100 times, I can just type 100 here. That's one way to do it, isn't it? So I will do this on that index to make things more clear and teach you indexes. So let me just quickly run this before I explain what I have done here, and there's something wrong. Area out of bounds and index bound for out of bounds for length 1. Yeah man, I hate Java. Right, no, that's for array lists. I just remembered. It just hit me right now that what I'm doing is for array lists, not for arrays. For arrays, if I want to do it, I will have to do it manually because this is Java, not Python. I just remembered. Okay, what if I have a... Oh, this sucks. What if I have an entire thing like this, which goes from 0 to 9. So it goes from the 0th index to up to 9. Right? Now if I run this, it will give me a similar output. Actually, this error that we got was a little helpful because we'll be taking advantage of this error in a later part of the same tutorial. What happened? Okay, I'll set this to 9. Stubborn thing. Java. Right. What on earth happened? Seems like Java is broken. Or maybe it's my compiler that is broken because this doesn't seem to work out very well. Wait, what exactly went wrong? That is the question. Nothing seems to have went wrong here. That's puzzling. Okay, let's try this a little different approach. Maybe there was something wrong with my compiler back there, right? Just a little technical error, nothing big. Happens. So let's say instead of numbers now, let's go for something different. Maybe like fruits. Oh yeah, fruits, it's different. Because I used to do that in Python as well. Very standard. Let's say I have a few fruits. I'm just gonna set a few things. Apple, orange, and banana. And of course, my changing fruit, my thing that will be used, my sample fruit, as usual, will be kiwi, because I like kiwi. Wait, so now if I do fruits, and now let's give this a certain index, right? So let's do fruits 0 is equal to kiwi. Very classic, right? I always do this. And I set it to fruit. I'm writing fruit again and again. It's fruits. So now, what you see here, I'll actually print fruits twice, just like how I do in Python, to make things clear while teaching. Right, so now as you can see what exactly is going on, it's very simple. Just a minute, I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. Uh, hmm. Where was I? Right. So now just to make things clear, we have taken our string, fruits, we have added 3 values to it, apple, orange, and banana, and then we'll print it out. So it'll give us apple, orange, banana, but then when we change the 0th index to kiwi, it'll give us a different output. So let me just run this. You can just... What is wrong with this thing all of a sudden? What is wrong with everything in this array? With Java as a total, actually. No, it's just... Oh, I have to do it manually, everything. I have to do it manually, everything. Okay, so I think it is giving us kind of the object location of array instead of the array itself. So we will have to take things at a different approach now. For int I is equal to 1, or is equal to 0, because it always starts to 0, I is less than fruits dot length, right? I plus plus. And then over here, right, this should work better now. Quite a workout, Java. I forgot to put the same thing up there. Java, why do you do this to me? Why do you make me work so much? I would have become a programmer if I had to work so much. Alright, now let me explain to you what on earth is going on right now. You can see we have apple, orange, and banana. Then you can see my code here. Since we have put apple, orange, and banana here, it will print it out. But then I changed the value of apple, which is on the 0th index, to kiwi. So we no longer have apple anymore. Now we have kiwi here instead of apple. And then we have orange and banana, which is left unchanged because I did not touch them yet. But as soon as I do, they will also be changed. But I don't want to, so I'll just let that be. Here's another thing you could do. A simpler way to loop through arrays, because you saw me write all of this and you'd be like, wow, Java makes you do so much. Am I right? So what if I were to do something different? Wait, not string. It's string. Let's say if I had string I, because I have I here, and then I could put this and then type fruits. Whoa, that changed everything. That changed the way I had to do it, because now I no longer need this. I just need this. And best part, it gives the same output. Now if my what's it called? If my array was, let's say if my array was an integer, then I wouldn't be using it like this. Instead of putting string I would be putting int I here. So let me explain you how this works. In this, you would have to first put the type of your array, then you put the name of your then you put the name of your variable, right? Which is basically your iteration, your iterator's name, and then you put the name of your array. And then when you use it like this, well, then it gives you a little different output, right? And it's very simple. So now if we do it like this, same output, but it's simplified and it's easier to use, because you saw me suffer back there, didn't you? Same output, apple is there, then it turns to kiwi. Orange and banana is untouched, and I don't want to touch them either. Right? So that's basically it. That's basically all you need to know about looping through arrays and, well, arrays total and changing the values in an array. But there's one thing which is called two-dimensional arrays. There's also three-dimensional and basically multi-dimensional arrays, as many dimensions as you want. But how do you do that? I just told you that these things exist, but how do I use them? How do I just, implement them? And yeah. So to do that, you will have to try out a bit different. You can do this. Another bracket in front of the bracket, and then you'll get a list of errors, because I forgot to add another list outside it. Now what you see is that we have a list which has this list on its 0th index, and then we have this on this list's 0th index, which is on this list's 0th index. Confusing? Not at all. Here's why. Let me tell you in a more simpler, more easier language. Basically, I have a list in which I have another list. Let's clear this list to make things more clear. Right? Now what you see here is that I have a list. I have a list in which I've got two more lists. Now this is where the dimensions come in. This might go a little over your head at the beginning, but later it becomes easier to understand. Even in Python, you can do this thing, which in Java is given a more complex name when it's just called nested lists, where you just put more lists inside one list. So there is just one array, right? And then there's a second array. And they're completely two different arrays, but they belong to one single array. And I could add as many of these brackets I want, but I will have to add the same number of outer arrays on this array, right? So let's put a few values inside this, and then I'll also teach you how to loop through these. So I'll just make this an integer, right? And give it a small name like num. So we do 1, 2, and then do 3, 4. Now let me just call one value from this. So what I can do potentially is system out println, and now I say num, and I'm just calling a single value, but that will require two parameters. One for this bracket and 1 for the other bracket, which is this one. So if I'm taking from this bracket, then it'll take me this one. Right? So these two brackets together would make one thing, right? So if I say I want this array, then we go 0th array, first array, and I want the second value of the first array. Or let's say I want the first value of the second array, right? So this is the first array, this is the second array, and this is the first value of the second array, this is the second value of the second array. We will take the first value of the second array. Alright? Now if I print this out, we should get 3. Because we are taking from this array, we are taking this value. And if I say this array, then we'll be taking this array and seeing this value. But I want 3, so I will do this one like so. And now if I print it out, we get 3. Isn't that perfect? Now just like how you need to nest through lists in Python, you will also have to do the same thing with Java, just with a different syntax, because Java is essentially the same thing as Python. It's a programming language. The Python's better, that's one. Alright, so let's do int I. Wait, how do you do multidimensional arrays? Shit. Wait. Wait, let me try this. Int I colon num, and then int j colon I. Should be like this. No. Okay, let me just do it the longer method. Int I is equal to 1, is equal to 0. I is less than num dot length. Right? Right? Is it making sense? Is it are y'all catching up with me? Are y'all catching up, right? Let me just check the chat if y'all are catching up. Right, seems like y'all are catching up. Okay, alright. Right, let's continue then. And then I do I plus plus. Right? Now if I do here, then we do int j is equal to 1. Am I going too fast? J is less than. Now over here we will do I. Do you understand why I've done this? Because we're taking this, right? We're seeing this one. So first go to the 0th list, just like how we used to do to, create patterns. I told you I would be doing patterns a little later. I won't be doing patterns right now, it's not necessary. So let's just leave patterns for now, let's just leave it untouched. Currently, let's focus on what we're doing right now, which is arrays, right? And then we can do system.out.println, right? And then over here we will put, I think it'll make sense now when I do this. Now what do you think will go here? Over here we will put I, and over here we will put j. Right, so we first go to the 0th index, right? And we print everything from the 0th index. So we go I, and we're getting everything from the 0th index using this. And we'll also have to set this to 0, right? So from the 0th index, we will get 1, which is on the 0th index of this 0th index. So basically from the first array, we will get the first item, right? And then we get the second item because we go j plus plus, right? And then in the same thing, we will say, then we get the second item from the first array, right? Then this loop ends. Then we go to the second loop, right? In the second loop, this will now, I will become 2. So now we will be getting the first, oh sorry, I will become 1. So in this case, we will get the first item from the second array and the second item from the second array. It all makes sense, it all comes together. So it all makes sense if I just show it to you. Right, we get 1, 2, 3, 4 in a line. Now 1, 2 is a part of this array. So if we first get these two, so it goes 1, and it goes 2, and it goes 3, and it goes 4. Right? Because we're first going through this array, then we will be going through this array. Then we, in the first array, when we start off this array, we will see this item, then we see this item. Right? Once this array is done, we're done with this. Okay, we don't need it anymore. Then we go to the second array. In the second array, we see the first value, then we see the second value, and then we're done with this array, and we go outside, and that's it. That's the end of the array, and it just hits the semicolon. Isn't that so? Isn't that so? And then we get our output as 1, 2, 3, 4, just like this. Right? It's very simple, isn't it? Isn't it? Great. Now, let's move to something very, very important. Methods. Now, methods in Java have a huge priority. Have you seen how we instance scanner class? Now, if I want to get scanner, we do scanner sc equals new scanner system dot in, something like this. Don't we? Don't we? Right? This is because we're taking the scanner, right? The scanner class, and we create an object of it. Now I'll be showing you to take the tutorial class and create objects of tutorial, and then take methods from the object. So I can do sc.nextInt. Now what does nextInt mean to you? NextInt is a method of the scanner, right, in the scanner class, which we can instance using the sc object. Right? Very simple to understand. So we just quickly create this, a simple method. So we can do static void, or let's, instead of going for static void, let's go for static int, right? Let's say sum, and do int a comma int b. Does this remind you of something? Isn't this another way to take inputs using Java? It is. This is one way to take inputs through the main method, right? But for now, let's not focus on that. And we do wait now. And sum is equal, or we just, return a plus b. And yeah. So now we have created a simple method here. What this method does, it takes two inputs, it takes two parameter inputs, which will be a, and it takes a second parameter input, b. Once it has taken these two inputs, it will sum them up, a plus b, and it will return the value to an object, or to the object, which will send, and that object will send that data which has been returned to a variable which calls the object. So let's say if I were to do tutorial, let's call this obj equals new tutorial, right? Like this. Now this basically uses my tutorial class, right? And then it will create an object of it, which I'll have named obj. Then we have the assignment operator, and then we got the new keyword and tutorial, which is the class name again, and then we have our brackets. Now I can create like hundreds and hundreds of copies of this if I want to, right? So I can not do obj, I can do like obj2, right, like this, and I can create like 100 copies of this. But so that's one thing. You can create as many objects as you want. There is no limit to it. The only limit is your storage space, the amount of SSD you have in your PC. That's the only limit. So as I was saying, I have created tutorial object equal to new tutorial. Instead of calling this obj, I'll just call it object because that's big and easier to say. So now what I can do is I can do, let's say, int. Now why did I take int here and int here at the same time? That is because if I'm declaring this as an int, I cannot, if I'm correct, declare this as a double, because double is a larger data type. But I will go for int right now, not to make confusions at all, right? Because this is a method, so methods will have a bit of a little complications, you can say. So let's say int output is equal to obj.sum, right? Now we need two values for sum, so let's go for something like 10, 20, right? Now as you can see, if I'm correct, I can also take double. Same thing, shouldn't make a difference because double is a larger data type, so conversion can happen. But if this was double and then I take int here, then that won't work, because in this case double is greater, so this is the more dominant data type, right? It's on a greater hierarchy. I think I had explained variable hierarchies, or like data type hierarchies, in the last tutorial, and if you haven't seen that, please go ahead and check out my last tutorial where I have included and explained data type hierarchies. So moving on, this has already been 52 minutes in and we have quite a lot left to cover. I think this tutorial will be a bit too long, so I will jot this down into two tutorials. So once I'm done with methods in this tutorial, I think I will end the stream here after methods, although it's going to take some time to end methods. And then I'll explain classes, objects, class attributes, constructors, encapsulation, inheritance, inner classes, outer classes, user input. I think I already explained user input, right? And exceptions in the end. I'll also explain a bit about the different kinds of constructors you have, right? So I'll just explain everything in the next tutorial, but today let's just sum up on our tutorial, like our methods, right? Don't worry, the next tutorial will come out in only a few minutes of ending this one. I just don't want to make things too lengthy. For the people who are watching it live, the next tutorial will come out as soon as this one ends, because, well, I can sum up things very quick, right? So that'll give you 2 videos and you can watch it for, let's say, a week, because I'll probably not be uploading for a week now since I'm a little busy with work. But don't worry, I will be back after a week or so, and if I can upload in this week, then I definitely will, right? So let's just move ahead without getting any disturbance now. So we have output, which will be obj.sum 10, 20. Now this is one way to invoke your method. Now we are calling our method here, right, by using obj.sum. So this .sum over here, it will call this method that we see, right? We can see that we have created a method. We have said that it will do a plus b, it will return the value to take it to this, and it will take it to this. That's all just theory. In practical, in hands, we can see that we can call this method Then this method will find that we have given two parameters. It's given us A, it's given us B, right? Now this A and B we'll see, and it'll be like, oh, okay, these are two values. Can we sum them up? Are they two of the same data types? Is one of them going 0.0? Is one of them like all something looking something like this? No, nothing like that is happening. This is an integer. This is an integer. Oh, no problem. This is perfect. So now it'll take integer A, integer B, and then it will sum it up. It'll add up A and B. It'll be okay. Now let's add it. So 10 and 20, that makes 30. Now take the value of 30, put it in a nice little box, and give it to OBJ. Now OBJ will take this box and say, what am I supposed to do with this box? And it gives that box to output. And output says, perfect, that is what I needed. Now this output will keep the box, and now when we create a line, system.println, and we do output. Now system.println over here, this one asks the box, this one asks output, can I see your box? And output will be like, sure, take a look at it. Now the box has 30 inside of it. System.println sees, oh, there is 30. And then it will send it on the output terminal screen that we get 30 when we simply do this. And then we add it up, and then 30. Perfect, isn't it? So that was the kind of little story I used to explain to you how basically this works. This will take, now let's see this in theory. That was what I said in practical. In theory, this will take 10 and 20 as two parameters. It'll add it up, it'll then give it to OBJ, then go to output, then system.println will call output. It'll check what output's value is. Then it'll check that value and it'll say, okay, output, come on. And it checks that value and it prints that value to the screen, on the terminal screen, which you can see over here on your screen, on this side of your screen, like this. Now, some people have asked in my last live stream that how was your mouse appearing on two surfaces? It is appearing both on this window, which is my code window, as well as my terminal window at the same time. That is just a thing from my software which I use to stream. That's just a thing, right? So that was basically how this works. Now what if I don't want to return anything? What if it says, okay, I don't want to give any packages. I want to show this to system.println myself. What if sum says, no, I want to show this to system.println myself. So at that moment, it will change this void. It will change this int to something called a void. Now in void, output does not come up anywhere. It's only OBJ who will say, hey, can you just come here, right? So it says come to main method, I'll give you these two parameters, right? In the main method, obj.sum. Main method is run first, so obj.sum will give it the parameters, right? And then sum will be like, oh, okay, I have my parameters. I have these two values, which will be 10 and 20, is like this. And it says, okay, I'll give it to system.println myself. Why would I have to give it to output? Output is not my friend. I don't want to give it to output. So then it will give it directly to system.println, or let's say we don't want to print it, then it won't give it to anybody. That is, it will directly give it to system.println, and system.println would say, oh, well, that's one nice box you've got there. And then in the end, system.println will tell the entire society what was put in that box. And so it'll be like, hey everybody, listen, there was 30 inside that box. So yeah, that's basically it. That's just how it works. So this is using the void method. Now in theory, the void basically is a sort of data type, or as you can see, this is sort of access specifier or something like that. No wait, that's different. You can just say void basically means that this method will not return anything. It has nothing to return, no return values, right? So void will not give anything back to a variable. So a variable does not get anything from void. In our case, output did not get anything from sum because sum is voided, right? It's in void form. So it does not return anything. Nothing is given to obj or sum or anything. So in case of void, you will get your output directly using system.println inside your main method. So if I just method call using my project manager in BlueJ and I just put the values 10 and 20. Now I can't show this on my software due to reasons, right? And I do OK. Now you will see, I think, yeah, 30 comes up here. That is because system.println is, in our case, system.println is no longer a part of the main method. It is now a part of the sum method, right? So that is why it's working like so. Now, as many times as you want, you could call the methods as many times as you want, right? Attach your parameters. Okay. Turn my use. Now I'll teach you method overloading. Overloading is a great part of methods. There's another thing called overriding, but I won't get to that because that is advanced Java. We don't want to get to the advanced methods right now because, well, we're still at the beginner level, aren't we? So let's just go for method overloading. Now in overloading methods, right? Now, normally what a person would do is I have void sum, right? So I want to do static void. Actually, let's say static double sum, and this will be static int, static double, right? And then over here, we want to take like similar values, kind of. Right? Now we want to give back similar values. So let's just remove this. Return a plus b, and then let's say I have a method, let's call it cal, right? Now cal would stand for calculate in this instance, right? And do int, and then I set this to int, set this to int. Oh, let's do it the other way. Let's do it vice versa, because, well, that would make no sense, right? What I'm about to do would make no sense to you. So just right. Now what you see here is two methods, right? Both of them are named cal, both of them are doubles, both of them are static. One of them has int a, one of them has double a, one of them has int b, one of them has double b. So what is function overloading? Function overloading is when you have the same method name, same method type, not necessarily same method type, but you could say that too. Same method name, but different parameters. The parameters are completely different from what they are in the two methods. So if I were to do, let's say 5.0, let's say 5.0 here, and do 20.0, right? Now if I do this, this would invoke this cal, but instead if I were to do 20 and then I do 5, this would now invoke this cal. Does it make sense to you? Does it make sense? Okay, let me just make this a little more clear. Let's say uh, int output equals obj.cal, and then I do double output 2 is equal to obj.cal, and then I do system out println, and then output, right? Then I take this output 2. Well, let's say both of them are double, right? Because over here also we're just returning double, so we can't do that possible lossy conversion from double to int. So now you can see this will invoke a different method, this will invoke a different method. I'll show you how this works, right? So let me just run this. As you can see, why does this one give me 25.0 and this one gives me 4.0? That is because 20 and 5 are given here, but 20 and 5 are both integers since they do not have any decimal points in here. Whereas this one has decimal points in here, so it turns into a double instead. Right? Even for floats, if I do it like this, then it turns into a float, which is a completely different story, not now. Right? So this turns into a double, and our double, that is a divided by b, not a plus b. So over here, we have integers. So the integers will do a plus b. But if it were double, it would do a divided by b, and that's how we get our outputs, like this. So that's basically function overloading, where I have the same name of function, same name, but there are different parameters. So as confusing as it is, it's quite useful in many instances. Like for example, if you want to like look for different things, right? It has a huge scope basically. It has a very big scope, right? Talking about scope, scope is another thing in Java itself, where basically stuff is only accessible inside a region. Now I will not run anything to show you about scope. Instead, I'll show you how blocks of code will work with scope. Now, let's say I have int. Okay, let's create a block, right? Now, anything I have kept between this curly brace would be a block. So if I do system out println before that, let's create int x is equal to 10, and then I do system out println x. Over here, we get no errors at all. In fact, I can create a block inside a block. That's another thing. You can create nested blocks as well. Well, let's not get to that, should we? No, let's not get to that. Instead, we will now just take a look at this. And as you can see, we have a block here. Now, this block consists of two lines. Our first line says that int x, we have created a variable, an integer variable, x, which would be given the value of 10. Then we print out x, right? But what if I say system.println x outside of this? Oh no! Now x is undeclared. Well, that sucks. What if it was public x? Now it requires an identifier. Whoa, now this is very crazy. So there is no way you can get this out of here, because x is valid only inside this block. Outside of this block, x is nothing. X does not exist. So it's kind of like, I can't exactly find a real life example for it, but let's say there's it's a trend, right? This block is Gen Z, and then this is millennial. Now for Gen Z, X is a trend. But for millennials, X is nothing. So that's basically what it is. Basically how it works, right? Alright, continuing then. So that was basically block scopes, where things are only accessible to a certain point, right? Nothing big about scopes, that's it. That's literally everything. And then there's recursion when a method calls itself, but that will be way too complicated. So let's not get to recursions, because The logic behind recursions is what's complicated. Recursion on its own is very simple to write. Like for example, if I were to create uh, like static void method, right? And then I could just do like method inside of this, right? Easy to say, hard to imagine, because now this is basically infinity, and it will only like stop happening if there was like some termination happening here, like system exit 0 or something like that. Otherwise, it just continues on and on and on for your lifetime. So easy to say, hard to work with. That is why I'll not get to this like right now. I'll get this in an advanced tutorial, which I'll most probably publish in near future, right? Seems like I had quite a bunch of views in while I was recording. That's quite nice. Thanks for 2 likes, by the way. Oh yeah, and while you're at it, just happen to accidentally put your hand on the like button and the subscribe button. Because this was it for this tutorial. I don't have anything else to tell you right now anymore. This is probably the end of the tutorial now. This is because I will be continuing the rest of this in another tutorial since we have passed the 1 hour mark, right? It's been on 1 hour 11 minutes since I've been recording. So let's end the tutorial here and I'll get back to you in a tutorial which I'll be publishing just a few minutes later. Right? So see you and goodbye.